Hope you're ready to go after that opening remark. Here we go. The BP Deepwater Horizon oil rig explosion occurred nearly 2 months ago. Since that explosion, estimates have been that 40,000 to 100,000 barrels of oil per day are leaking into the Gulf. Oil is now washing the beaches, devastating the tourism industries of 44 states, in addition to already choking off the livelihood of commercial fishermen. What do you think the role of government should be in the BP oil incident?
The role of government, what should have happened right away is the government, our government, which they didn't do, should have accepted the help from several countries around the world who were willing to step up to the plate and help us cap that oil well. Our administration did nothing for basically a month, over a month. They just sat on it. And it's the government's role. There needs to be a modicum of oversight. But the problem here is, again, that we're not enforcing our laws in this country. We're not doing the things that we say we're going to do. And that's what led primarily to this BP accident. Because the rules in place were, for the most part, giving BP the authority to do whatever they wanted to. And they did such. And that's how that ended up being. But the role of the government eliminating, which we don't have right now, should be a small oversight to make sure they are doing what they're saying they're going to do.
All right, thanks, Jim. Hartman, you get the question next. Again, what do you think the role of government should be in the BP oil incident?
Well, the role of government, first of all, should have been to follow the regulations on the books. Been in the oil business for 3 generations now. I do have a full understanding of the multiple things that went wrong. First of all, Mineral Services, which is now, of course, called Ocean Energy Services, because the Obama administration, since they failed so miserably, simply changed the name of who's supposed to be overseeing these platforms. On those platforms, there are supposed to be thousands of documents that are intended for different situations that could, may, and have taken place, as we all know. First of all, the Obama administration should have done the inspections that were required, done the corrective measures that were required, and they failed to do all of the above. Basically, they let this situation take place. BP did shoddy workmanship. Halliburton was involved with cementing, which was poorly done. So it was a group of individuals who were trying to make shortcuts into millions and millions and millions of dollars for the profit of the company. So once again, the government should have stepped in and done their role as given, and they did not do so. This most likely could have been prevented with proper management from the government.
And thank you, and a reminder, these questions have been provided from members of the Chamber of Commerce. Question goes to now Mike Pompeo. Mike, again, what do you think the role of government should be in the BP oil incident?
We certainly have in the Gulf a tragic accident, an industrial accident of enormous scale, and it's not much talked about, but we've forgotten that there were lives lost on the platform. It doesn't get talked about much. It is absolutely the case that the folks who did wrong need to be held accountable, need to pay for the things that they did wrong in their errors. But we have to be really careful. When government tries to protect us against everything, it does enormous harm. There were enormous regulatory systems set in place to handle deep water drilling. There are enormous regulatory systems to handle industrial activity all over the 4th District of Kansas. So you've got another example of government failure. Its inability to execute the regulatory system that was in place certainly is a component of the accident that occurred. But make no mistake about it, I've heard folks advocate for another set of regulations. I've heard folks say that we should cease all deepwater offshore drilling, or all offshore drilling, or all drilling. That's a ridiculous response to an accident that is very severe. There are dozens and hundreds of deepwater wells that have been operating for years. Most of those wells have wonderful safety records. And so we all have to be really careful. When accidents occur, they need to be redressed and those responsible held accountable. But national policy, in terms of an American energy policy, American energy right here in America for Americans, needs to take into account safety and risk, but needs to make sure and afford us all an opportunity to bring that energy here and not bring it in all the attendant risks when we bring in oil from the Middle East as well. We can't forget those risks while we're staring at one that's right in front of us. And so my view is we need to be really careful as a federal government that we don't create a policy that inflicts more damage on folks in the Gulf region than the already terrible accident has done.
Okay. Next page of Rutschmann, the next page, the question is, what do you think the role of the government should be in the BP oil incident?
Well, the government, the disaster in the Gulf is not new. We've had oil spills before. It's different in the fact that it is a deep water issue that we're facing now. That has never been done before, the solution. The government's role in this activity should be as a CEO managing a company. They should have been on top of it, been aware of what was going on, have been making sure that the rules and regulations that are in place were being enforced effectively. And as soon as this activity or this spill occurred, there should have been boots on the ground, so to speak, providing oversight and having a team, which should have been prearranged with industry to get the best technological advice there at the site to provide oversight. Our government needs to have increased awareness and agility in handling this type of issue, as well as any natural disasters and a whole host of others. So it's not an unsolvable problem. There's a lot of engineers who would love to have an opportunity to work on it. It's something that's never been done before, as far as resolving these issues, but it is resolvable. And as far as the government's activity, it should have been as a CEO of a company getting in and really determining what was going on, providing oversight and making sure that things were accomplished in a proper manner. Thank you.
Now, Dean Schodorf, Dean, what do you think the role of government should be in the BP oil incident?
Well, you would think that the government would have learned from Katrina that we need fast response. And that's not what the government gave the people in the Gulf. We need fast response and develop plans so that we will be able to help, when asked, help governors immediately go to the scene and help them with whatever they need, with help for safety for people, for rescuing people, and then for cleaning up and trying to get this oil spill contained. It's getting worse, and BP has tried many things that have not worked. And the government has not been, they've been trying to help too, but they just have not been successful either. We need to make sure that these plans are really backup plans, and that they are good plans, that they will work, because all of the oil companies have the same backup plan. And this one didn't work, maybe because of shoddy workmanship or shoddy drilling or whatever that the cause is, because of lack of regulations, because of cozy relationships with the regulators of the the people who are regulated. But the federal government has to be able to have plans to step in fast and try to solve the problem rather than making it worse.
All right, we'll go to question number 2 now. And